the king's repentance and the aftermath of the church. The bishop's secret letter speaks of burning the herb patch on the 3rd day of the 3rd month. They have not given up. They mean to destroy everything before Alara can restore the herbal art. It was the hour of the rooster 5:07 p.m. in early spring. The sunset stained the white marble steps of the king's palace a warm gold. The wind carried the faint fragrance of begonias beneath the palace walls, yet could not disperse the heavy air within the hall. Valen was guarded in the center of the hall, the bloodstains on his red vestment now black. His head was bowed low, only shaking involuntarily when the word church was mentioned. The king sat on the throne, holding a stack of yellowed letters. The crack in his jade thumb ring was prominent in the setting sun. He did not rub the crack as before, but placed the letters heavily on the stone table, his voice carrying suppressed fury. Valen, did you truly think I was ignorant of your collusion with the southern bishop? These letters clearly stated all. You used the beasts to threaten the villagers, you used the witch hunt to weaken Samuel's military power, and you even plotted to poison my wine and have the bishop seize my throne. Valen sharply looked up, his face ashen. Your Majesty, the bishop forced me. He said if I did not comply, he would kill my family. His voice trembled. He reached out to grasp the king's robe but was held back by a soldier. I was wrong. I beg your Majesty to spare my life. Spare you? The king stood up, the jade ring slamming onto the letters. 20 years ago, you replaced herbs, causing the deaths of 3 soldiers. Now, you coerce false witness, abduct children, and incite beasts to attack. How many families have you ruined? How many good people like Alara's mother have you falsely accused as witches? Do you deserve mercy? I stood beside Samuel, watching the scene, a sense of relief washing over me. The king's earlier hesitation was not biased toward Valen but fear of the bishop's threats. The letters even contained the bishop's threats against the king's young daughter, filled with brazen ambition. Samuel quietly took my hand. The warmth of his palm reassured me. He whispered, "Fear not. The truth is finally out." Cain walked to the center of the hall, presenting another stack of papers. Your Majesty, these were found in Valen's Inquisitor residence. They document the truth of his witch hunts over the years. The so-called witches were either herbalists who knew his crimes or villagers who refused his bribes. And this, he took out a small box containing several black pellets, is the feed Valen used for the beasts. It is mixed with the church's holy water, identical to the pellets found in the cave in the ancient woods. The king's expression grew darker as he examined the evidence. Finally, he bowed deeply to me. Miss Alara, I wronged you, and I wronged your mother. Because my daughter was threatened, I dared not publicly oppose the church, causing you so much grief. From this day forth, I order the immediate cessation of all baseless witch hunts, recognize the value of natural herbal arts, and clear the names of all those falsely accused. I quickly steadied him. Your Majesty need not apologize. As long as no one ever again treats herbs as dark arts, my mother's soul will be at peace. I took my mother's note from my satchel and handed it to the king. This is the note my mother wrote documenting Valen's deceit. I give it to your Majesty, hoping it will serve as evidence for a full investigation into the church's crimes. The king accepted the note, his fingertip gently tracing the script. His eyes were slightly red. I will make this evidence public so that all in the kingdom shall know the truth. Miss Alara, I have one more request. I hope you will establish a rune academy in the city, to teach common people herbal arts and protective runes, so more may know that the power of nature is for guardianship, not for fear. I paused, then nodded. I am willing. Only, I need a patch of land to grow the herbs and to demonstrate their use to the children. The herb patch in the ancient woods shall be yours. The king immediately declared. I will order the soldiers to guard it. No one shall damage it. Samuel, he looked at the duke beside him, you must assist Alara. You must protect her safety and help her establish the academy. Samuel bowed. Your servant obeys. He looked back at me, his eyes filled with tenderness, like the warm sunset on my skin. Just then, a soft sound came from the hall doors. The old woman walked in, carrying a cloth bag. She wore a clean blue dress, her hair neatly combed, holding a small bouquet of fresh edelweiss. Your Majesty, I have something for Miss Alara. She walked up to me and opened the bag. Inside was a yellowed herbal manual, with a mint sprig embroidered on the cover. This is what Alara's mother left in the Northlands. It contains many difficult remedies and ways to counter the black liquid. I was her companion then, and I hid this manual all these years, fearing the church would find it. I took the manual, my fingers brushing the embroidered mint. Tears suddenly fell. The pages were brittle but still carried my mother's scent. The script inside was identical to the note I held. The last page contained a small map of the herb patch, marked with the note, "Detoxifying herb in the deep woods, antidote to the black liquid." Thank you, I choked out. The old woman patted my shoulder. Your mother once said her daughter would surely inherit her herbal art and make the power of nature known to many. Now, you have done it. The atmosphere in the hall gradually eased. Valen was led away to the dungeon by the soldiers. The king began discussing the clearance of the church remnants with his ministers. Samuel and I walked beneath the begonia trees outside. The sunset stretched our shadows long, intertwining them like inseparable threads. You do not have to hide anymore. Samuel stroked my hair, his fingers brushing the wisps near my ear. You can grow your herbs openly, teach the children runes. No one will ever dare call you witch again. I leaned into his embrace, smelling the mix of leather and begonia blossoms, filled with a sense of security. But Valen said the bishop has accomplices. Will they still come after us? I was still worried. The church's influence was deeply entrenched in the kingdom and could not be purged quickly. Before Samuel could answer, Cain rushed over, holding a crumpled piece of paper. My Lord Duke, Miss Alara. We found this hidden in the sole of Valen's boot. It is a secret letter from the southern bishop to Valen. He handed over the paper. The handwriting was frantic, but the key sentence was clear: burn the herb patch on the 3rd day of the 3rd month. The witch must not be allowed to restore the herbal art and end our troubles. My heart plummeted. The 3rd day of the 3rd month, that was 3 days away. They hadn't given up. They intended to destroy the last vestige of my mother's memory before I could restore the herb patch. Samuel's face tightened. He squeezed my hand. Do not worry. We have 3 days, enough time to prepare. I will assign soldiers to guard the ancient woods. Cain will track the bishop. They will not succeed. The sun sank lower. The palace candles lit up one by one. The warm yellow light shone on the begonias but could not penetrate the worry in my heart. How extensive was the bishop's power? Did they have other schemes? Would the herb patch 3 days hence be another crisis? Morning light and eternal guardianship in the herb patch. Every spring hereafter, the herb patch will sprout new life. We will draw runes here, teach the herbs, guard each other, and guard this land where truth was reborn. The dawn of the 3rd day of the 3rd month came exceptionally early. Before the sky was fully light, points of firelight already glowed in the ancient woods herb patch. I knelt where my mother once planted mint, my fingertips stained with salve mixed with the detoxifying herb juice, drawing protective runes on the surrounding tree trunks. The pale green shimmer spread along the wood grain, forming a soft armor that encased the entire herb patch. Samuel stood on a nearby rise, his black cloak snapping in the morning wind. He was directing the soldiers to set up defenses, the war scar on his left cheek catching the faint morning light. Every command was clear and decisive. Miss Alara, here is the freshly ground mint powder. Tell me if it is enough. Martha's voice came from behind. She carried a cloth sack filled with fine green powder. Her son, little Tom, stood beside her, clutching a handful of freshly picked edelweiss, carefully presenting them to me. "Sister, this is for you. Mother says edelweiss brings courage." I accepted the edelweiss. Morning dew still clung to the petals, cool in my palm. "Thank you, Tom." I ruffled his hair, noticing half a wooden fragment pinned to Martha's sleeve, the very sun emblem piece she had slipped me, now strung into a small pendant. "You made the fragment into a pendant?" "Yes." Martha touched the pendant, her eyes filled with gentleness. "It is a marker of Tom's rescue, and my proof of apology to you. I will come to the herb patch every day from now on to help you plant and dry the salve, and I will never let fear guide me again." The sound of hooves approached. Cain rode up, the burn on his left wrist now scabbed over. He held a map. The clanging of his armor was notably lighter as he dismounted. "My Lord Duke, Miss Alara. We found them. The southern bishop has 20 confidants, hiding in a cave on the west side of the ancient woods. They carried no torches, but many jars of black liquid. It seems they intend to poison the herb patch first, then take Miss Alara as a hostage." Samuel immediately walked to the map, his finger landing on the cave's location. "Cain, take 10 soldiers and circle behind the cave to block their retreat. The rest follow me and hold the eastern path to the herb patch. They must pass here to reach it. Alara, you stay within the rune circle. Do not come out. I will stop them." I nodded but handed him the mint salve from my waist. "Take this. The black liquid can burn skin. The salve will soothe it. And this," I took the last page of my mother's manual, showing the drawing of the detoxifying herb. "The herb is in the rock crevices on the east side of the woods. If they attack with the black liquid, mix the herb juice with water and splash it. It will neutralize the poison." Samuel took the manual page, his finger gently brushing my written note. He suddenly pulled me into his embrace. The morning light caught his hair, turning it a pale gold. His voice was softer than the morning dew. "After the bishop is dealt with, we will turn over the herb patch, plant your mother's mint, and the edelweiss you like." As I started to nod, a rush of footsteps sounded from the east. Cain's voice immediately rang out, "They are here. Prepare." Samuel released me, drawing his sword to block the path before the rune circle. The blade flashed cold in the morning light. The soldiers raised their pikes. Martha quickly shielded little Tom, yet she did not retreat. She held a small spade, the one meant for turning the soil, gripping it tightly like a weapon. The bishop emerged from behind the trees, wearing purple church vestments with gold-threaded crosses at the collar. He carried a black liquid pot larger than Valen's, and his confidants held daggers, their eyes vicious. "Surrender, Alara." The bishop's voice was heavier than Valen's, carrying an undeniable pressure. "Otherwise, I will pour this black liquid onto the herb patch, and this wretched land will never sprout anything again. Do you think you will succeed?" Samuel stepped forward, his sword pointing at the bishop. "Valen is captured. Your scheme is known throughout the kingdom. Further resistance will only bring you the same end." The bishop suddenly laughed, a mad, twisted sound. "I am not like Valen. If I capture the witch, the king will fear me. His daughter is still in my power." He raised the pot, ready to pour the black liquid onto the herb patch. I instantly raised my hand. The rune's faint glow on my fingertips flared. The protective runes drawn on the tree trunks instantly connected, forming a transparent barrier. The black liquid splashed against it, making a sizzle sound before dissolving into vapor. "Impossible." The bishop's face paled, and his confidants panicked. Just then, the beast's roar sounded from the distance. I looked back and saw the black cub I had healed running from the woods, followed by a dozen adult beasts. Their eyes were a gentle amber in the morning light. They roared at the bishop's confidants but did not charge, clearly coming to our aid. It's the cub. They came to help us. Little Tom excitedly cried out. Martha sighed in relief, the spade no longer trembling in her hand. The bishop's confidants recoiled in terror. A few dropped their daggers and tried to flee, but were blocked by Cain's soldiers, who had circled behind the cave, trapping all the confidants. You have lost. I stepped out from the rune's circle, holding my mother's manual. Your black liquid cannot harm the herb patch. Your confidants cannot escape. The king's daughter was rescued long ago. You thought you could coerce the king, but you forgot that once the truth is seen, it can never be hidden again. The bishop tried to resist, but Samuel's sword knocked the pot from his hand and pressed against his throat. Surrender now, and you may keep your life. The bishop's shoulders slumped. He slowly lowered his dagger. His confidants surrendered. Soldiers moved in to bind them. The morning light no longer held the previous menace, only the silence of despair. By the time the soldiers escorted the bishop away, the sun was fully risen. Sunlight dappled the herb patch through the leaves, softening the rune's glow. The clean scent of mint mixed with the earthy smell of soil, like my mother's presence. Martha and the villagers arrived, carrying hoes and seeds. Little Tom ran ahead, kneeling beside me to turn the soil. Sister, let us plant the mint. I want to learn herbal arts from you and help cure people. Samuel walked over, holding a handful of new herb seeds sent by the king, including mint, marigold, and the detoxifying herb from my mother's manual. His Majesty said this herb patch is now under your care. He will send artisans to build the Rune Academy so you can teach more people the herbal arts. He knelt, scattering the seeds with me, his hand occasionally touching mine, carrying the morning's warmth. And I requested leave from His Majesty not to resign my dukedom, but to move my keep near the ancient woods. I can protect the city and be with you. I was stunned, looking up at him. The morning light fell into his eyes, reflecting the new sprouts in the herb patch, and my own reflection. You do not have to do this for me. It is not for you, but for us. He interrupted, gently wiping the mud from my face. The warmth of his palm made my eyes tear up. I guarded you at the pyre because of your mother's kindness. I stayed with you in the garret because I did not want you to be alone. Now, I want to guard you because I want to watch the herbs sprout every spring with you, and draw protective runes every full moon. The cheers of the villagers suddenly erupted. Martha laughed, holding little Tom. Cain turned his head away, subtly wiping his eyes. I looked into Samuel's eyes, suddenly recalling the words on the last page of my mother's manual. If one day, a man is willing to stand between you and the pyre of the church, that is no forbidden love, that is the guardian chosen by the rune. By sunset, the herb patch was full of new seedlings. The villagers lit a bonfire nearby, roasting bread and potatoes. The aroma drifted far. Little Tom, holding the simple calming rune I taught him, ran around the beast cub. The cub followed him docilely, its tail lightly sweeping the ground. Samuel sat beside me, holding my mother's manual, turning the pages, occasionally reciting an herbal remedy. I leaned on his shoulder, listening to the crackle of the bonfire and the laughter of the villagers, my heart utterly at peace. When the Rune Academy opens, I will first teach the children to draw protective runes, I murmured, watching the sunset paint the sky a warm orange. I will also teach them to recognize the herbs, and tell them that the power of nature is never dark arts, it is for guardianship. Samuel squeezed my hand, his finger tracing the rune marks on my palm. I will be with you. I will teach them to protect themselves with the sword, and to heal others with the herbs. Every spring hereafter, the herb patch will sprout new life. We will draw runes here, teach the herbs, guard each other, and guard this land where truth was reborn. The residual warmth of the bonfire mixed with the evening wind, blowing over the newly planted seedlings, carrying a faint, clean fragrance. I knew my mother's name was completely cleared. all those falsely accused witches would be vindicated. And Samuel and I, with my mother's legacy and the villagers' trust, would continue to tell the story of guardianship in this herb patch, forever.